How to starve fat off your liver is something that you must understand. Most who suffer with fatty liver don't even know it's happening. Let's talk about the critical components that you must address to reverse this issue and get your health back. Hey Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and the sad part about fatty liver is that you don't even know that you have it until everything goes wrong. You go to the doctor, you get a lab test, and everything is off. And now you're struggling in order to get your health back. Let's go ahead and focus on every component that is necessary to change in your lifestyle in order to starve the fat off your liver. This fatty liver issue all starts with metabolic syndrome. What is metabolic syndrome? This is when all components of your metabolism go out of control. And here's why it happens. Well, first it starts with obesity. So if you're somebody who's carrying around a lot of excessive weight, all that extra fat on your body is causing a big issue for you. So it's very important to work on weight loss today in order to start starving the fat off your liver. If you have fat accumulation on the outside, you have fat accumulation on the inside around your visceral organ systems. So we have to make sure that if we are overweight, or even if you're walking around with that belly fat, that tire around your belly, this is also an issue. I've seen some people that you wouldn't think would have fatty liver, and they get tested and they do. And the reason I would say you wouldn't think they would have fatty liver is simply because they're not obese. They're not carrying that much fat on their body, but yet they still had fatty liver. Insulin resistance is a big root cause of fatty liver. And here's the thing, is that many people will have high insulin levels, and their insulin levels are high, driving that insulin resistance issue, even though their blood sugar still is being maintained as stable. So if your insulin levels are high, this is another reason that you would get that fat accumulation in the liver. And this fat accumulation in the liver is a big deal because it leads to chronic hepatitis. And when you have this inflammation issue in the liver, unfortunately, the liver becomes broken and everything only continues to worsen. And as we always say, the liver is the organ that supports all organ systems. So when your liver is struggling, well, the rest of your body will as well. High blood pressure. So this is something that you can easily take in pretty much every grocery store in the comfort of your home, or even if you go to the doctor's office, if you identify that you have high blood pressure, something you want to focus on bringing down. You can do this through exercise. You can do this through intermittent fasting. You can do this many ways. Now, also toxicity is a big issue, meaning that you have a lot of toxins in your system. Maybe you're somebody who is taking a medication, which basically is also going to serve as a toxin to your liver. So if you're taking some medication, if you are somebody who is suffering from toxicity just from the foods that you're eating, the chemicals on your clothing, the chemicals in your home that you clean with, these are all toxins. And so if we have toxicity issues, they will directly impact and even break down liver function, therefore leading to inflammation and further fat accumulation. So this is where a detox comes in handy. I'll talk about more of what you can do in order to start ramping up the detox process in your liver and also healing. Next thing here is your lipid levels. So if you go and you have high cholesterol issues, this is just a sign that the liver is struggling, okay? And this is a sign that there's a good chance you have fat accumulation in your liver. And also if you're consuming a lot of alcohol, this also can lead to a fatty liver issue. Interestingly enough, it is very rare that I see a fatty liver problem as a result of alcohol. It literally is like every other issue that we talked about, but alcohol is not even a component of it. Whereas, the only people that we used to ever see who would have liver issues for the most part were the chronic alcoholics. That's not the case anymore. It's the chronic carboholics and sugaraholics that are the issue today. Let's talk about the three trios that really drive this fatty liver problem in your body. Now, the first thing is going to be refined carbohydrates, okay? Now, this is part of the trio because these refined carbohydrates, they're not serving you in the way of nutritional quality. They are not good for you, and most people are consuming way too much of it. On average, individuals are consuming around 350 plus grams of carbohydrate per day. That's a lot of it, and unfortunately it's in the way of refined carbohydrates. It's not carbohydrates that's coming from fruit and vegetables and that sort of thing. So we have to make sure that we're reducing our refined carbohydrates down to nothing preferably. Your carbohydrates should come from good food sources. So we got to lower this, okay? Because this is part of the trio. High amounts of refined carbohydrates, high amounts of sugar. Now, one of the sugars that's specifically really bad for your liver is high fructose corn syrup. If you're drinking sodas, eating a lot of processed packaged foods, there's a good chance that you're consuming a lot of high fructose corn syrup. Also, candies and snacks and that kind of thing is really going to be loaded with it. And that high fructose corn syrup is processed differently in the body and is processed differently than regular sugar. It goes to the liver for processing and is more likely to cause fatty liver issues. And then the next part of this trio here, when we talk about the trio that causes fatty liver, is a low protein diet. So you see the problem here. We got something that's really good for you and it's very low. And then we have high sugar, high carbs. It is very common that I see somebody who is suffering with fatty liver eating a diet that looks something like this. Well, I had a bagel and cereal for breakfast. I had a sandwich at lunch. And then for dinner, I had pasta and pizza. Like, this is a very common scenario. And then maybe the next day they had something similar, but then maybe they included a little bit more protein because they had a burger or something. But the reality is this is a very common sequence that leads to all of these issues, which also leads to fatty liver. Now let's go ahead and talk about what we do here in order to reverse this problem, because it can be reversed. That's the good thing. There's really good science promoting the use of N-acetylcysteine, NAC, in order to help reverse fatty liver issues. So this is something that can definitely be implemented. Another thing I like is alpha lipoic acid, because the alpha lipoic acid is really good for inflammation. It's really good for lowering your blood sugar and helping reverse insulin resistance. It's really good for the liver. It also has been shown to help lower cholesterol levels. So that's why we throw this alpha lipoic acid in as well. Now, another thing that's specifically very good for the liver and has been shown to help balance the liver enzymes, and this is going to be milk thistle. Okay, I'm a big fan of this. Now the question becomes, how do I take this? Should I just take NAC? Should I just take alpha lipoic acid, or should I just take milk thistle? Well, the fact is I actually like to take them all together. And there's a synergistic effect that happens when you put all of these together, and it really becomes very powerful. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description below to the formula that I use clinically and with people I work with when it comes to supporting these types of liver issues. Now, this is something that can be 100% reversed, okay? Don't think that if you have fat on your liver, this is something that can't go away and you know, woe is me and how am I gonna live my life? This is something that can be and will be reversed if you actually take the right steps of removing sugar, removing refined carbs from your diet, upping your protein intake big time, making sure that you're going for at least a 30-minute walk a day. You have to be exercising. Your genes are designed to require exercise. If you are not exercising, you currently have an exercise deficiency in your life, in your health. So you have to be exercising. You're going to want to make sure that you're doing your best to avoid toxic exposures, okay? Toxic exposures are things that can be mitigated by making sure that you're buying food that isn't full of chemicals, making sure that you're not spraying chemicals around your house. Do everything you can to reduce your toxic exposure in your environment. And then, of course, removing alcohol from your lifestyle if that's something that you're doing. Once again, I don't see alcohol typically ever being a problem. It's all of the other things, the food-related issues, the lifestyle issues that are really driving this issue. So go ahead and click on the link in the description below to get that liver support and start putting yourself in the right direction. I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. Give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It was a pleasure seeing you in this video. I'll see you in this one next.